Okay, everyone, welcome to our new series here at Jill's office called Inside the Trades, where we love to interview business owners in the trades to learn more about their businesses, what helped them to grow, how they even got into business in the first place. And of course, we want to talk about some of the obstacles that they've faced throughout their whole journey. So we've got somebody amazing that I have met personally. His name is Court. Hey, Court, thanks for jumping on with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed by Court's company. He owns Rare Breed Plumbing. And I met Court through various networking, especially online, local Facebook groups. And I've just been really impressed with the brand and the business that you've built. And so I would love to just interview you and go over your story and just ask you some questions. So for starters, how did you get into Rare Breed Plumbing?
All growing up, my dad wanted me to be a plumber, and I did not. I had all the stigmatisms about, overweight and smelly and working with all of the different things. I was like, there's no way I would ever be a plumber. It's not in the cards for me. But when I was going to college, I got to a point where it was take out student loans. And my wife was also going to school for nursing, and she was more sold on being a nurse than what I was sold on. And so I just needed a part-time job, and I got a part-time job plumbing. And after 2 weeks, I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I absolutely loved it because there was just such a dopamine rush of somebody calling you in their hour of need and you showing up and you being able to interact with them and you being able to calm them down and you being able to then solve the problem and tinker and work with your hands. I was like, oh, this is everything I've ever wanted. And so I did my apprenticeship, and then my wife and I, we decided to move down to Salt Lake where there was a bigger population and try our hand at being small business owners. And we've been doing it now for 6 years, almost 7 years. And we've grown it from just me running around in a truck to over 30 employees now, and with all the good and bad that comes with that.
Well, that's amazing. I was going to ask you how long you've been in business. So did you start out with plumbing and then add on? Okay.
Yeah. So we really got plumbing rolling, and then we did a tuck in. We're really big on education. I've been burned by a lot of poor education out there, especially being a small business owner. You're desperate for some sort of security, right? And so you're asking people for help. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad actors out there offering pretty terrible advice. And so we got burned a couple of times. And so when we do learn something, we like to share it with a lot of people. And we had a incredible operator named Jarek that he had reached out to me for help with his small business. And when he kind of decided, he's like, you know what, I'd rather just come over and work with you rather than banging my head against a wall over here. He brought HVAC over, and we had no plans of doing HVAC this quickly, but it's been this will be a record breaking summer. So it's a blessing that it happened this year.
So first, I want to touch on some of the things that you're doing to educate others, because I love that you do that. Also want to learn or help others. Where did you find some help? Because I know you said you got scammed. A lot of people are worried about that. What are some of the biggest influences that have helped you with your business, or where did you find help? And probably business help, right? Because obviously you know how to do your job, plumbing. And so
the best help that I found is just from opening up my mouth and asking people. Again, every business owner, I feels like they are living their own unique experience of just like, oh, I'm an imposter. I'm not good at this. Nobody understands how I feel. The reality is everybody gets it, and everybody's feeling the same way. And you're looking at people and you're like, oh, they have it figured out. And they're living in a parallel universe of train wrecks and mistakes, if that makes sense. And so the real breakthrough happened actually on social media of just like writing. I don't even know what happened, but I just kind of sat down and wrote down some of the scars that we had gone through with bad hires or whatnot. And the amount of responses of just like, hey, I went through the exact same thing was pretty overwhelming. I was like, oh, I'm not this unique pioneer. Other people have walked this path before. Right. And so I just started asking people that were just a couple of steps ahead of me. I tried to find those $5 million shops first and ask them like, hey, what do I not know? What about this? And then the $10 million shops. And now I have mentors that, have $50 million shops or $100 million shops, or one has a $500 million shop. Mm-hmm. And it's just not being afraid to just be like, hey, I'm a little stuck on this very purposeful question. I'm not trying to take your time. Could you help me with this one thing? And it's been huge for our success.
Yeah, that is a really good perspective, I should say, because in my experience at Jill's, especially because I've been at Jill's for a little over 10 years, I've talked with literally thousands of business owners, and I've been able to experience some that I would say, I think everybody has a little bit of ego. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to have a little bit of ego,
yes.
But keeping it in check, right? But there is this sense of meeting some owners who have too much ego to admit that they need help with something or to ask because they don't want you to see that they're struggling. I mean, one of the best lessons I ever learned from my dad growing up, because I played a lot of sports. My dad was also a football coach, and he always told me to play with people that were better than me because you're never going to get better, right? And so I kind of live by that today, trying to find people who are, like you said, 5 steps ahead and see if they're willing to help you. I mean, you can even pay somebody to help you if they're 5 steps ahead, because it'll get you there faster, save you a lot of time and money in the long run. And going into some of these workshops that you hold, I haven't been able to go to one because I am far from you. However, I would love to come to one, but I did talk to someone. I talked to Jasmine. She owns that electrical company up here close to me. And she has been to your workshops before, and she absolutely loved it. So tell us a little bit about that and why you do it and what people could expect if they were to come.
Yeah, I'll open up the kimono and tell you everything about it. Not just the sales pitch side. So, by the way, the next one's on the 16th, and you should come. Originally, it started that kind of we got to that $3 million mark and top line, and it started to be that we realized that growing leadership was going to be a big, I don't know how you'd say it, just a big lift for me. You know, kind of that 3 million, I feel like you've learned how to develop people into good workers, but now we got to develop leaders. And that's still kind of the rut that I'm stuck in of how do you do that? And so I was like, you know what? I don't have a huge budget for this. I don't really know what to do for it. I'm just going to make something big enough that anybody that I want to be coached by, I can get them to come to us here in Utah. And so we started with a dear friend of mine, Ellen Rohr, who, have you ever heard of Ellen Rohr?
I haven't.
Okay. If the listeners have not heard of Ellen Rohr, you've got to get her books. But she's like the queen of financing in the trades. She mentored Tommy Mello with A1 Garage Doors and met him at 15 million when they were losing $2 million every year, and got him to be profitable and turn into this $200 million monstrosity that they are today. And I just asked her, I said, hey, if I could get a bunch of contractors together, would you come and educate for an hour? And sorry, I don't even know. I know I am emotional because it was such a hard thing to even ask somebody who I think is like a celebrity. Yeah. And she said yes, and it took off and it helped a ton of people, and it helped me. And then it just kept spiraling. And now we have, I think, like 270 people on our email list, all in the home service industry. And we just put on every 2 months, just something where we invite an expert to come in and talk on one subject. There's no sales pitches. There's no agenda on that. It's just like, come and learn. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of evolved into, again, with the development of leadership. Now the spin is also, we know that we will find companies there that just will hit a wall and they're like, hey, I don't want to do this alone anymore. And so the hope is, well, Rare Breed's adding enough value and we have good things going. If you do want to shut your doors, which is totally okay to do, we'd love for you to join us and let's build something good together, because we would rather tuck in good talent, because it's hard. It's hard to develop good leadership talent.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that strategy. And it's so crazy because, like you said, it's hard to reach out and admit that you need help with something, or to someone who you think is just so high above you. But I mean, you're living proof that it works. Just saying something like, what is it going to do to just ask? Yeah. It's really not going to, I mean, worst case, they say no or just don't reply.
If they say no, you got the same answer as if you didn't ask at all. So if you're going to get the same result, you might as well.
Right. And if you're a business owner, you have to be somewhat comfortable in sales. If you are not comfortable in sales, you need to hire a salesperson, but you have to be okay with the no. You just have to learn how to get more of the yeses.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I love that. And so you said your next workshop, are you calling them workshops, education?
They're really more of masterminds. So because it's 2.5 to 3 hours. And the first half is, we always pick a topic. So this next one's on AI and marketing in the trades specifically. So the first half is the industry expert coming in and talking. And then the second half, and educating. And then the second half is you break into groups of 8 and you stay on the same topic and you just say, hey, this is what's actually working for me. This is what's not working for me. And it's a literal mastermind where, not the talking heads, it's you guys are getting together and like, what does work in cleaning that we're not doing in plumbing, or vice versa, or whatever it is. And I feel like I get equal amounts of value from that side. I've made great friends. I know who I'm going to call if I have problems with financials or who I'm going to call with problems with marketing. I know where my strengths are that I can help them out. And I know who to send them over to if it's like, yeah, if you're going to ask me about that, I'm probably not the person to talk to.
Yeah. It's a real genuine way to build like true connections and network. And so that is just amazing. I really have to come to one of your classes, one of your masterminds, I should say.
I'm on the 16th. Yeah.
On the 16th. I get your emails. I'm on your list. Okay. So, I mean, all right. So what have been some of the big challenges? I mean, even challenges in the past that you had to overcome, maybe some challenges now.
I mean, the ones that you remember the most are the ones that really hit you in the nuts. I'm a very trusting person. So there's the challenges that everybody goes through of just the imposter syndrome when you're like begging for somebody to come and work for you. And you're like, nobody's going to want to work for me. And you don't have that confidence of like, oh, they want to work for me as much as I want to work for them. And I remember that I made a hire of a sales guy, and he was like a $2 million sales guy back when we were doing, I think we finished that year at 1.4. So it's like, man, if we could bring this one guy in, double our business, everything's better.
Right.
And now we have processes where we say, hey, open up your service Titan, show me your past month at your current employer. But at the time, it was just like, this is a $2 million sales guy, get him at all costs. Right. And I didn't know what to pay somebody like that. And so I said, well, what do you make where you're at right now? And he just gave me the plan. I said, awesome. We'll just do that. And in my mind, I was like, if that company can pay that, I can pay that. The reality was nobody was paying what he had asked for. It was like 30. It was crazy, but I had no idea. And so my doubts were just like overran by that FOMO of I've got to get this guy. Long story short, I spent a ton of marketing to try to get this guy leads. He couldn't close a door. He couldn't close anything. He was terrible. Was not a $2 million sales guy. And that was like the start of a boulder that got rolling where we spent too much on marketing. And at the time, we didn't have a good handle on what our ROAS was on different marketing dollars. So I was spending $1,200 per lead for pay-per-click leads at the time. This is right before the rebrand.
Right.
So I was just paying our way out of business quick. And so after that, I had to end up selling my house over that whole debacle, which is a huge blessing because we won't make that mistake ever again. Now we have really tight numbers on what our marketing spend actually is. We do not get infatuated by the shiny sales rep who has never been the answer, by the way. It's always just have good people. Those have been some of the hardest challenges.
Yeah. And dealing with people is probably going to bring you biggest reward, but also biggest challenges. Because humans are like the thing you cannot control. Like you can with AI. You can make it do what you want. Yeah. It's always, and asking a lot of business owners what their challenges are, it's usually, well, for one, numbers, money, profit margins, but it's always people, hiring, retention, training. Yeah, that's just something that I don't think anyone figures out overnight. Like you said, it's either really painful lessons that, like losing your house, having to sell your house. For me, it was going out of business. And having debt afterwards. And so those things, unfortunately, teach us really solid lessons that we now try to teach other people that will listen. And not everyone will. They'll just go through the pain and then think about it later. So
like you said, there's a lot of ego in it. And
there is a lot of, I had it myself. I still have a little, but I have scar tissue now, that I am not willing to go back and do the same thing again. Never, ever will I try to run a business by myself and do all the things and not look at my numbers and not ask for help, not take advice from people. But and like you said, getting scammed, but also there's a lot of advice out there people will try to give you that haven't been not where you are at now, haven't even been where you're trying to go. Yeah. And so like you said, 5 steps ahead, find those people and see if they're willing to talk to you. Most people are good people and they are willing to talk to you, but they can be extremely busy at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
This is a really interesting topic too, because this is kind of where, my career lives in, which is customer service and, dealing with customers all day long. How have you seen the landscape kind of change over the years in regards to how trade businesses deal with customer service?
Yeah. So, over the years, it's kind of a hard thing for me to say because my experience is very limited. Rare Breed is the largest company I've ever worked for. And so we're a different monster than what we were when it was me solo in a truck where you called me and I was the guy that answer any hour of the day and I was the guy to show up. And I saw a time where I think at our hearts, everybody in the home services knows that they got in to serve in some way, shape, or form. Like that's what drew me to it. Like I said,
Right.
you get to go in and be the hero. And then somewhere along the way, you realize, gosh, I got to make a profit too. And it's just trying to balance that. Like I really like putting the customer first. And I think that that's always going to work out best in the end. And how it's worked out best for us is there is a lot of private equity moving in to our industry. Private equity isn't inherently bad, right? Your retirement, everybody's retirement and 401ks are tied into these same private equity companies that we're all cursing all the time. Like we want them to win in some aspect, but we don't necessarily want them coming into our homes and selling us a bunch of stuff that we don't need at our expense. But I feel like it shifted too far towards profit that they are squeezing the life out of the experience just a little bit. And it starts with they're not consciously making the decision of we're okay having a worse customer experience, but they are okay with having a worse employee experience. And in turn, the employees are what give people customer experience, if that makes sense. Right. In plumbing, the people are the commodity. They just are. Have good people. People have a good customer experience. Yes, there's the SOPs and all that kind of stuff, but all of that goes out the window if you have crappy people trying to follow the best SOP versus great people running wild. And so I feel like that's the real shift, is not necessarily intentionally making a worse customer experience. It's making a worse employee experience, which trickles down.
I 100% I could not agree with you more, because I think I've seen a lot of businesses that are trying to scale. Maybe they're below $1 million and they're just stuck. And usually the owners in that category are still with the mindset of, I can't find good people. Nobody wants to work. I can't trust anyone except for myself. So if a customer is upset, I go back out to the job. It's a repeating pattern that I do see. And some people are trying to break out of it and are open to talking about it more and having a different mindset. And others are just absolutely not. There's no answer to it. People suck. And I went to this great workshop the other day, and I was just blown away at what he was talking about in regards to emotional intelligence as far as being a business owner, but also how when we are feeling triggered or upset at someone and the way we respond to them, we're literally, he said, you're looking at a mirror of yourself. And so I feel like when employers are thinking a certain thing about their people, it's really a reflection of who they are as a person, as an owner. That makes sense. Yeah, it was great. I need to connect with him because he's so good at just leadership coaching and stuff. You definitely need it. You should have him out at one of your masterminds, actually.
That's what we would love to do.
That would be amazing. I have his card. I will send it to you after this. Okay, so let's talk about the future of Rare Breed, and what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to in the future?
So again, going back to kind of the technician experience, like that's what we're really focused on right now. We want to I'm hyper focused right now on creating a school for technicians, for plumbers and HVAC people specifically. There's a lot of stuff out there that's like sales training. I'm more interested in them being just better plumbers. And because what used to happen is that you had a journeyman, right? And the journeyman was highly invested in you growing your skills because they would make more money because you would multiply everything. That's no longer the case. Your journeyman doesn't make any more money if you succeed. And so I feel like the education quality has gone way down in the trades. I'm really excited about trying to build a school, and we have one for journeyman prep where we teach other plumbing companies how to pass the journeyman prep class and help get people licensed. But that's what we're trying to do right now, is try to bring pride back into the trade itself and not necessarily into just a sales culture. That's probably the first and foremost exciting thing on my mind. I'm also just excited for this next chapter of HVAC right now. It opens up a whole new department with different ways of doing things. HVAC and plumbing are not similar at all. HVAC is very feast or famine, right? They make all their money in the summertime and then they starve in the winter and the spring. And so they do things differently, and learning those and taking the best of that and putting into plumbing has been good for us. I'm just excited all the way around. I don't think there's anything that I'm not excited about coming down, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm just optimistic for what the future holds.
Now. That's a very strong entrepreneurial visionary trait, optimism. I have a lot of that too, all the time.
Yeah. And there's just so many possibilities for it. I feel like there are people, if you back me up against the wall and says, what's the one thing that set Rare Breed aside? Like, why did we grow when everybody else didn't? I think it is unrealistic optimism all the time of just like the house could be burning down around us and I am still excited to be here. And the guys feel that. They were just talking to me about it today. They're just like, yeah, when things suck, we're willing to work harder because it's like you haven't lost any. The word in Spanish is like animo. And I don't know but it's more than excitement. It's like the optimism in it. And yeah, I feel like we do that really well over here.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up too, because I read something and I can't remember where I read it at, but it did talk about how leaders really do set the outlook and the pace and the emotions and the thoughts and everything for everybody else that follows them. It's a great quality to have when things are hard. You should always have hard moments. It's the only way you grow, right? Expecting things to be easy all the time is not realistic. But when those hard moments come, everybody looks to leadership to see what they're going to do, how they're going to react, what they're going to say, even what your facial expressions are. And all of that combined just sets the tone for your entire team. They're like, things are rough, things are bad, the economy sucks, but Court says things are going to be okay because we're going to get through it. Hard right now, but here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. Everybody get on board. They want that feeling because they could be at another company going through the same exact problems, but the owner is saying, this is not good. We're going downhill. People are going to get fired. The economy's going to crap. We don't have any customers. And I know owners that do that.
Yeah. Yes.
And it makes a huge difference in this world of for your employees because, they have their personal life and then they come into work and now they're in this work life that you are responsible for curating an amazing experience that still has hard work in it, but making them see the vision and see where they could be 5 years from now at Rare Breed, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Simon, I don't know what his last name is, but start with Y. Talks about that. Yeah, Simon Sinek, that the owner, the founder has to be the embodiment of the culture that they want to make. But I think it's also important to talk about like how hard it is to be optimistic all the time. And so like my leadership, that's been one of the criticisms towards me. Is they're like, hey, we love how up you are all the time. But when you're not up, everybody feels it, if that makes sense. It's like a cloud passes through. And that's hard for me to internalize because I'm like, guys, when I'm not up, I'm still like a regular person's 8, if that makes sense. Like I'm not like kicking down doors and stuff. I'm just being a normal human, having a normal human experience. But because I'm always up, the change is drastic. Does that make sense? It's very obvious to know that you're not at the top of your game that day. And so their expectations are higher. There are times that as the owner, I have to pop in knowing like, hey, I'm not 100% and I need to put on the mask and I need to put on the performance for that hour, that 2 hours. And then it's better for everybody if I just make an excuse and get the hell out of there and go do my work from a coffee shop or whatnot. Because like you can't fake it all day, every day. And you can't lie to them either. Like they're going to see through it. So give them the real optimism that you have, every last ounce in the tank, and then just get out of there. And I think that that's okay. And I think that the problem is the days when I'm just like, no, I got to stay locked in. And then the frustrations bubble to the top. And it's like, dude, I should probably take a breather and just go to the coffee shop for the day, work from there. Nobody knows, nobody cares. But that's been huge for me to just be like, hey, I can walk away for a little bit and nobody has to know that I'm having a bad day. But part of being a team that I've had to realize is like the leaders carry the heavy stuff. Everybody else it's like a group project, except for like, you're okay when the guy slacks off. Like they don't need to carry that stuff. Let them be the presenter, do whatever. Yeah. Awesome. One last question. Okay. So if you were going to give one piece of advice to somebody who is wanting to start their business in the trade. So we're talking like, maybe they are working for another company, or like you said, they're coming out of college or deciding college isn't right for them. Maybe I should go into a trade. What would that one piece of advice be? Well, if they're coming out of college and wanting to get into the trades, definitely don't start getting into the trades by starting your own business, but they should get into the trades. This is the place to be. 100%. But if you're wanting to start your own business, I think that's something that's a stumbling block for a lot of people is knowing what your real why is. And it's got to be bigger than the sell. It's got to be bigger. Everybody, gosh, I can't tell you how many companies I looked up to when I first started
that they were like the up and coming companies and they were, $3-5 million companies. And now we've blown past them. And if I had to whittle down like what happened, it's that they're not wanting to grow. Like they don't love the game of growth. They don't have a big enough why. They're just trying to grow for the sell. And that gets old after a while once people burn you so many times. And so my why is very much, there's a religious aspect to it, but I want to be a builder of people. Like our whole motto is we want to leave people better than we found them, customers and the employees. So when it comes down to hard decisions, it's easier for me to go back to my why and be like, hey, this is hard. This is what we asked for. But if your why is the sell, when you go through hard things, it's hard to be like, yeah, this is what I asked for. Because you didn't ask for it. You asked for a bunch of money. And I feel like that gets really old for those guys. I think it's hard to stay locked in. And the other thing that they need to understand is if they can't get to, this is kind of on things that we've never talked about. Rare Breed has a goal of never selling, but we talk with a lot of different companies, and plumbers don't put away for their retirement. Plumbing business owners specifically do not put away for their retirement. And they think because they have a $1 or $2 million company that it's worth something. And the hard truth is that it's not. It's not worth anything, not little, nothing, until they can kind of get to that $1 million EBITDA. And to get to that $1 million EBITDA is hard. And so you can't be complacent. You could have a great paying job. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But you need to know that the bus will stop the moment that you get hurt. Like you gotta be saving. We've had a few people come to us that were 70 years old with no retirement. And they thought, hey, I had $1 million company. I thought I'd, get a pretty penny for it. And it's like, no, dude, you had a job. So I think knowing your why and then knowing that you got to chase it a little bit further than what you might initially think. And I know that I'm rambling because I have like a lot of thoughts on this now that I haven't processed.
No, it's good because I feel like we can take a lot of information and a lot of gold nuggets to share with people, because the stuff you're talking about now are like the hard truths that nobody wants to hear.
And unfortunately, they're hearing these truths when they're 65 and tired and they don't have any more gas in the tank. But I remember when I first started, I was like, man, if we could just do $1 million, I will have made it. I will be on the beach with a drink in my hand all the time, family vacations. And then I got to $1 million and I was like, I'm way more broke than I was when it was just me in a truck. The math just didn't compound the way I thought. The overhead went up way higher than the profit could keep up with. We had to raise prices a lot. And so the guys that are just like, oh, I just want to get to 3 guys and just be humming with good profit, that's doable, but it might be different than what you think it is. And so just trying to understand that. So go find the guy that's actually doing that and try to figure out how to replicate that rather than the guy that's a chuck in a truck with just him and being like, oh, I'm just going to repeat this 3 times. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I really appreciate you getting on this call. It was really informative. I think that it'll resonate with tons of people that are owners in the same industries as yours, but also in other industries, because there are a lot of things you said that apply to business just in general. I mean, there's things that I'm thinking about right now for my own cleaning company. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to think about that a little bit more. So I appreciate you a ton. And if people wanted to learn more about your masterminds, is there a way that they can get a hold of you? First of all, it's local here in Utah, right?
Here in Utah. But we had people flying from Oklahoma at the last one. Like people can fly in if they want to. I'm always like scared to say it because I'm like it's free. Like I hope you get the value out of it.
But if they wanted to learn more, can they contact you?
Absolutely. Best way to get in contact with me is probably my personal Facebook page. I'm most active on Facebook. My phone number's on it. They can shoot me a text directly and that would probably be the best way to connect.
Okay. So Court Lundberg, Rare Breed.
Yep.
Plumbing, heating, and air.
Yep.
Got it. All right. Thanks, Court.
Absolutely.